A man can learn a lot in a prison system when he spends the right time in the right energy, in the right direction. It don't always start out that way, because when I went in, I had to adjust. And then after the adjustment, it's like being almost anywhere. And it's not like me saying, oh, that was cool. It wasn't cool. But the fact that I ended up going to smaller institutions, like I started at Bay State Correctional Center after I got sentenced and classified at CONCORD. So 5 months, it was rough, but that was the adjustment.
Ain't got a moment. When they see you down, there's no they love and all.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bounce Back Podcast. I'm your host, B. Luke. I got a special guest with me today. He could tell it better than me. Why don't you tell the people your name, where you're from?
Jojo Parker, Malden, Mass.
So where did you grow up, Jojo?
Grew up in Somerville.
What part of Somerville did you grow up in?
Tail Square, type area, you know.
I know it. I'm familiar.
Yeah.
Okay. Right next to Cambridge. So shout out Somerville. Shout out all my villains out there for sure. So just talk to me a little bit about what it was like growing up in Somerville and a little bit about your home environment.
Home environment was really good. You know, I grew up in an Italian household.
Okay.
Mother's 100% Italian, you know. Father's Irish, so I got the Irish genes a little bit, but you can see the way I talk with my hands. I've always been told, you know, you're a little Italian, but you don't look it, you know, that type of stuff, you know. But growing up was different in Somerville back then.
Okay.
It's a whole different, you know, as you know, you know, you grow up connected areas, you know what I mean? So, you know, it's always different rivals, you know. They had for a while, they had the Somerville, the Cambridge beef, all that stuff. You know?
I feel like a lot of the cities out here, it's like whatever city is next to the other city. Because you could go to Malden and they're going to tell you about the Malden Revere beef, right?
Just honestly,
it's always something.
Yeah, it's like just talking about it gives me anxiety because there's the tension's so deep back then, you know, that kind of affects families, you know what I'm saying, in certain ways because they've seen things that not many people have seen. So it kind of trickles down into the kids growing up, you know what I mean? The Joes and the whoever, you know, my friend Matt right here, you know. We've been through some stuff, but, you know, we had good family structure. So, you know, me going away and all that stuff that happened in the future, which, you know, from when I was a kid, which is now my past, you know, that's what I want to kind of reflect on, you know what I mean? That the family ties were so strong that's what kind of messed me up about doing all the stuff I did, you know what I'm saying? Because it was more like I had the moral compass in the right way, you know what I mean? But I grew up in a culture where like 90s hip hop, you know what I'm saying? Like there's things that like drive you in, you're lured into certain stuff. You see things, you know it's wrong, you know. I grew up in an, you know, Italian Catholic family too, you know what I mean? So I grew up conflicted as a kid thinking like, I think way different than this shit, you know what I mean? So it's weird because you're like, you know, I go to church with my Nana, God rest her soul, because I truly believed that like there has to be something. But when I was a kid, I was conflicted because I go there and you hear this stuff, it sounds like the energy in there for kids, it's very uncomfortable. And so you understand later on about Christ, consciousness, whatever you believe in, you ascend more the older you get, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. And this, you can have a great household, but the truth of the matter is when you're a kid at that age, how much are you really in the house? You know what I mean? You're at school, so you're influenced 6-7 hours a day by your peers. 100%. So even if everything's straight at home, you got that influence at school and then after school and all that stuff. So how were you as a student? And since we obviously got a lot of Massachusetts people tuning in, where did you go to, like elementary school, high school, and how were you as a student?
Elementary, I gotta go way back because, you know, I still smoke a little bit from time to
time. I know, it's tough with these stories, people to recollect that.
But I remember my roots. I was young, but I went to the Brown School, and I remember vivid memories of me playing kickball in the yard and shit like that with the brick and the old nice look. You know, I was a kid. I got along with all the kids. I remember some kids' names, but it's weird because when I moved out of Somerville to Malden, the only trip I ever took back to Somerville was to go to my Nana's house, you know? And she lived in East Somerville, but then I had, you know, family in, you know, the other end, you know.
So was that something that you moved to Malden while you were still in school? Did you go to school out in Malden, or is this later in your life?
I went to school in Malden High, but up until 4th grade, I was in Somerville. So when my father ended up deciding to move us out of Somerville, because it was just getting crazy. It was way before, like, MS-13, but they were starting to become familiar. So it was like, shit, my father forecasted and said, you know what I mean? I grew up, I did this shit, you know? His story's a whole different thing, but, you know, like I said earlier, it's a trickle-down effect. So I'm going off, like, how I seen the old school Somerville guys handle shit.
Right.
That's
And
kind of the
and
way
for
you
those
bring
that
it with
don't-
you into Malden. You know
Well,
what I
for
mean?
those that don't know, Somerville too has that history with like the Winter Hill gang.
100%.
You know, a lot of serious
100%.
like the
Yeah,
Irish Mafia
yeah.
out there and all that.
Which a lot
so-
of people have been speaking about for years. We all
Yeah.
know. I almost
I mean,
throw
was
up
that
when I
something
hear
prevalent
Winter
in
Hill.
your household? Because
I
a
mean,
lot of us have parents that were like that age running with.
well,
those
yeah,
crowds
it's
and stuff.
prevalent in everyone's household that grew up in the 70s. Everybody can tell a story in the 70s, 80s, and shit like that about that stuff. The thing is, I feel like it's more glorified
Right.
than like say like, listen, that's how learned behaviors happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, you're not just like, you know, I watched Scarface at 8 years old religiously.
Right.
You know, I don't judge anyone for that.
Not at all.
It was like I was infatuated by the way he talked, the way that aggression. It was passion to me. It was like, I know there's dudes out there like that.
Absolutely.
They don't make movies, right, about someone unless it was a reflection of who that person was. They might dumb it down a little or maybe sensationalize, but at the end of the day, they're always gonna tell you there's truths in that. And when kids pick it up, they bring that, they make their own version of themselves, and they're 14 years
For
old.
sure.
You're walking around saying, okay, okay, you know what I mean? Like,
Okay,
you're doing
I'm
shit,
reloaded.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's different, you know? It's just how it
and not
goes.
to even glorify the whole Winter Hill thing, but we're just trying to paint a picture.
Right, no, I get
for
it.
the
No,
people
I'm just
who
saying, no,
aren't from
that
there.
wasn't to you. It was just
No,
saying,
I'm him.
you know, in general, you know, I'm constant, I've been following content for so long, and I study it, but I keep it here. And then when something comes over that makes me say, let me gotta start writing, because this shit's coming in. It's coming from somewhere, I don't know where, but I need to start writing. And then I start calling my people. And then when I do that, they kind of get me back down off that manic, stop pacing around going 3 days without sleep, bro. It's not good.
Right.
So it's like, you got to come back down. But when you're young, you can't tell someone anything. I was doing boxing when I was 11, 12 years old, but I was always into martial arts when I was younger.
Where did
But,
you do the boxing?
Boxing was Summer Boxing Club a little bit with my father, but he always taught me everything because he trained there with them his whole life. He knows the boys, you know. It's like shout out to Mickey, shout out to all of them, you know me.
Absolutely.
You know, they knew me since I was this big. I used to hit their hands when they were, you know, my age now.
So what is it like now? You're a Somerville kid and you're going to Malden. Do you know anybody there? Is this something now? It's like almost a thing you just.
You know, no one when you go. You go to a new city. It was like we just went for a different change of environment, you know? Ironically, 5 years later, I'm caught up in the same shit I would have been doing in Somerville 2 towns over.
Right.
You know, you got Medford right there. You know, we didn't really get along with Medford, but it wasn't like beef. It was just like this unspoken thing. Guys hung in Medford. But the guys from Malden that were near that way, Edgeworth guys, shout out to Edgeworth, they always kept it cool and neutral. Did we go to keg parties and get in a fight sometimes? It happens.
You're in Malden High. Any trouble in Malden High, man? Are you getting suspended?
I had like that Somerville mentality, you know, and kids from Malden are a little bit different in school. You know what I mean? So the first couple of things were just stupid recess things where guys pick on the new kid, and I was the new kid. So it's almost the same as when you go in at first. You know, you get your first bag and you're walking in. It's the same shit, you know? And that's why I like that whole idea, because it goes from school to you know where. You know what I mean? So.
And that's like going from maybe like one camp to another. Now you're at a whole nother spot, and like you said, nobody knows you, or you might know 1 or 2 people, but it's like you gotta kind of build your reputation from scratch, man.
And everybody does it. We all do it, you know. I had ego, you know. I knew I could throw hands, so I wasn't really scared, and I was very vocal. Even I got in trouble with, you know, mostly it wasn't trouble with, you know, grades. I always got B's, C's, some A's, you know what I mean? Average shit. But it was the conduct that was disruptive, because I questioned shit. I said stuff that maybe I shouldn't have been asking. Who knows? But it was just
It's the behavior.
a little bit different. It was a different behavior, you know, they weren't used to.
When you start getting in trouble with the law now, when
It wasn't
that
2
happen?
years later. It wasn't 2 years later. It was,
so you were pretty much
know,
grown.
yeah, I was, you know, high school stuff, you know, little weed charges here and there, you know, little
But
stuff.
that's
'cause I
how it
was picking
starts.
up.
And
That's
so,
how it starts,
so what
yeah.
happens like the first charge? I'm always interested to see, because some people, they catch a first charge and they get smoked. And some people, it's like the gradual.
Yeah,
the
it was gradual
The
with me.
quaffs,
Yep.
the suspendeds, the probation.
Yeah, it was gradual with me. It was definitely gradual. Like, you know, you got to crawl before you walk sometimes. I never went full throttle at first, but I always challenged shit, you know?
So a
I
bunch of
really
little
liked,
stuff.
I really liked weed, you know? Balanced out my ADHD. So at the time, that's what they were trying to say that I had, and maybe I did, you know? Because I did have a lot of energy, and I could, you know, but when I started smoking weed, it did kind of balance me out.
What about alcohol? I know high school students, a lot of kids that drink
Yeah.
all the time, at least on the weekends.
I drank, but it was always for social stuff. I'd rather smoke, and, you know, if I ever drank, of course I've been drunk, you know? But I just never really, enjoyed it because I like to smoke. So when I mixed it, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So every time, there's never a time where I drank so much I could just smoke and didn't. So I just kind of weaned back with the drinking and alcoholism, something that runs deep in, my family,
Okay. I feel like every family has
Yeah,
that. At least, somebody, the quote unquote drunk uncle
Absolutely.
or whatever. But
yeah.
So when does it come to the time, walk me through the events that eventually end up to you getting locked up?
It really was that progression from weed, like 7 years after high school, I just kept going. I had plans on going to college, right? And I wanted to make my family proud, but after high school, it was like, I started smoking more weed and started to, pick up more weed to support the habit. It started getting a little bit worse, Because now I'm going a little bit faster, so I need to slow down. And that always kind of slowed me down. But I realized that, it affected a lot of my decisions along the way, including like the people I surrounded myself with.
In what way? Because I feel like sometimes, man, weed makes me procrastinate sometimes.
100%, 100%. But it clouds your judgment too. So if you're in that lane and you decide to go head on with selling weed and you're taking it full time, you didn't go to college, you shouldn't be, just doing that. They should be working, trying to be a productive member. There should be a balance if you're gonna do that shit and then slowly just get out of it when you realize it's just not worth it. You know what I mean? But as hindsight's always 20/20, you know what I mean?
Of course. So you pretty much just jumped right into the selling game and all. You
Yeah.
never experimented anything like that with harder drugs or anything like that?
I was never really into harder drugs.
That's what's up. And then the same thing as far as the selling, the hustling?
Yeah, no,
stuck to the weed game.
I stuck to the weed until I dipped my toes in the water with the coke, and then that was when it. I had 18 months after that before it was like a movie, kicking the door, all that stuff.
Eventually, is that what you get arrested for selling weed?
Yeah, no, coke. I started getting comfortable. The ego got big. More people around. I thought they were all my friends. You know what I'm saying? Because we're very naive at 19, 20 years old. Now you're 21, 22. You know what I mean? And it just progresses. You're like, I'm seeing guys with more. I'm seeing dudes that are doing other shit.
It's like a status symbol, builds the ego. It's like when people need you, everybody's calling you. But then you realize too, once all that stops and you don't got that, the phone calls are coming in less and less people are hanging out with you, anything like that.
Yeah.
So how did you get caught, man?
I got caught by my lack of, just awareness, really. Like I was around a lot of people. It was all me. I used to point the fingers at everyone. It was me. And I had to own that. And accountability is a real thing. You have to first own that. It took me a year before when I went away. But it was like getting to the point where I met a couple guys that were doing it and I said, hey, let me get that. They said, don't do it. OG, he said, don't do it. He loved me. And he knows who he is. It is what it is. But I decided to do it. I couldn't get out of it.
Why do you think that is?
It was a vacuum, man. It was just the time. I knew that 9 to 5s were only paying $250, $300 back in groceries, shit like that. And you know what I mean? I'm like, I didn't learn the trade. I went to a trade school and didn't really do shit with it. I felt lost a little, conflicted. You know what I'm saying? And I can blame a bunch of different things, but it comes back to you always, and it comes back to me. I got to take the responsibility. So that's where it progressed. I got with the wrong people after that. Started going full force. And then it was just the nicer cars. Now I'm flashing, and I'm a target. The only thing I didn't have was that bumper sticker saying I'm a drug dealer. Right. But they already knew.
It's good to get money. Everybody get money. You get the girls, you get the nice clothes and all that. But what would you say was like the worst part? Because we don't want, we got to give it to them. Like, this is why we do things, right? We're not glorifying it, but we wanted money. We wanted fast money. 100%. We want instant gratification. We want it now. We don't want to have to put it in the time and wait 2 weeks for the first paycheck and stuff like that. So what do you say is the worst part of when you were out there hustling?
The worst part is you can never have peace. There's no peace. I had 3 phones going, mine and the other 2. And it's like, I can't go out with, to the bar with my friends and have, we used to go to V's and stuff like that. I'd pop in last call because I had to pop in and go. I couldn't give my friends the attention that they wanted from their friend, So I look back on that and it's like, I regret that. You know what I'm saying?
It's not a glamorous lifestyle
it's
at
not.
all.
It's
and
not.
Only
Looking back at it, it's not. And it's always going to be there. It's something that until it gets stopped at the biggest levels, we can never do nothing about it. We can only just project our message, in the right direction and say, listen, we already been through it. There's no love there. If you think there's love, then talk to me. Just talk to me, because I'm here now because I was compelled by a video I seen. When I click like, I subscribe, and I was in a rabbit hole.
I appreciate that.
And that's, to me, that's everything, because that's truth. So if I didn't do that and call my friend and say, hey, listen, let's try to reach out and do this, because I have one opportunity to go and convey my message. Because like your man said, I don't remember his name, and it had a powerful message. 14 to 15 years, 14 straight. You don't have to say that again. That's as clear as can be. Right. A man can learn a lot in a prison system when he spends the right time in the right energy, in the right direction. It don't always start out that way, because when I went in, I had to adjust, just like you had to adjust. Absolutely. And then after the adjustment, it's like being almost anywhere. And it's not like me saying, oh, that was cool. It wasn't cool. But the fact that I ended up going to smaller institutions, like I started at Bay State Correctional Center after I got sentenced and classified at Concord. So 5 months, it was rough, but that was the adjustment. That was what I chose to do, and karma hit me.
So how do you end up upstate?
You know, everyone has a rat in their story, right? You know,
well, yeah,
most of the
those
time
places would be empty if there weren't rats.
Let me take a deep breath for the rats, man. I can't get into that, you know what I'm saying? But that's what did it to me. It was someone that told on me, and it was someone that, you know.
So did you have like a trafficking charge?
It was trafficking, yeah, because it was over 100 grams, and when it's over 100 grams, they get you for 10-year mandatory minimum, because at the time, not now, mandatory minimums are gone. Salute that, okay? Because that was the first step in the right direction. And shout out right now, before I forget, to Families Against Mandatory Minimums for really giving me hope from 2008 all the way up until it passed in like 11 or 12. And then when it finally went through, I got a slip under my door. I started with a 7 or 8. And I said I wasn't going to believe it till I seen it, but I had faith. And then that slip came under the door when I was at Concord Farm minimum, right? And I'll just never forget that feeling, who I was with, my cellmate, and cool dude, you know, and he's like, holy shit, it happened. And everybody's short there, so everyone's happy for you. If that happened when I was behind the wall, I might not have showed people right away. I might have had to slowly break it to people, because you build relationships in there. And the most disrespectful thing you can do is gloat about your short time left. And like, you come in there with a couple years, it still sucks to do. But you got to understand, you're around people that may never get home, and a lot of people that are never getting home. So you got to kind of think, you know, some people don't even understand. They come in there happy. I only got 2 years. I heard that, and I feel like I'm selfish saying this, but I'm like, what the fuck? I got 8 years for 4 ounces of coke. I didn't kill no one. I ain't kicking no doors, tying no one up. But I'm not going to pay poor me my whole life and my whole bid. Because if I do that, I'll never learn in this thing. And it's a correctional institution, even though they don't really give you the resources to really thrive, because we wouldn't have a recidivism rate so high. But the fact that we do is, you, with the little minimal resources, you have to make the best of your day. And you start with the getting up, stand for count. You know what I mean? Whatever. And then it goes from there. And it's like conveyor belt of bullshit. Just like when guys get up at work in the morning, like I'm in construction now. I get up, I'm on a conveyor belt every day. I get to work, I do what I gotta do, because I built something. But I'm grateful for it, and I will never complain about my situation. I have a beautiful wife. I have a beautiful life. I got people in my life that are involved and just care about me and have stock in me. It's better than any stock options on the markets right there. And that's how I look at it. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great way to look at that. And so you get 8 years. Talk to me about, is this a plea bargain thing? Did you go to trial?
It was a plea bargain, because like I said, 10-year mandatory minimum. You know what I'm saying? And I was ignorant to the laws. And I was, you know, very ignorant to what would happen if I didn't have to, you know what I mean, do all that time if they kicked my doors. And I didn't know it was 10-year mandatory. If I did some research, guess what I did after I went away? I researched some shit, because I was trying to fight for my life at that point. And I always said, I'm gonna go in there with a positive attitude, because why the fuck go in there? But then at night, the first year, you still think, your mind is going, but you have to battle that shit, because you're there. It's a reality. So you've been there, you know, and it's like, you know, it's not in a downplay, but it's also when you get out, there's another big tough adjustment when you get out that no one talks about. But a couple lifers will pull you aside towards the end, and they'll say, you know, some shit like one said to me. He said, the toughest challenge is going through them doors. What's on the other side? And I thought he was a little bit loopy for saying it. And brother, 2 years later, after me catching back into some shit and backsliding, he popped right in my head. And I'm like, shit, I'm sitting 52A Concord on another one, my last one at this point. But, you know, it was a big one. It was
So around what age are you by the time you're sitting up in Concord? You just got 8 years. I'm just curious, how old were you at that time?
I was 25 when I caught the case, 06. Okay. December 1st of 06, I caught the case. And then I bailed out, which you always regret that when you get sentenced, because I had about a week, credits. And I started that fresh 7 to 8. You know what I mean? I didn't even like saying it to people when they asked me, but that's what people do. We ask each other, what'd you get? Oh, fuck. And it was all Middlesex County. That's a tough one. Middlesex County, they make an example of you, And I was going to the old court, but the case was, prolonging, and then they were building a new one in Woburn, and that's where I was sentenced in 08, June of 08, yeah. Okay,
so you went up to, so I must have just missed you. I went up to Concord like early 09.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you got a 9-3 number. You like 9-3 or 9-4 or something.
9-4, yeah.
Yeah, I'm 92492. 92492. It's a crazy thing.
And it's crazy that we remember these
well, we were cattle. We were cattle, bro. We were, that's what we were, and we basically allowed ourselves to do that.
What's your mindset going in on that 8? Is that something at that point? Are you something like you got a good deal, or you still kind of
I knew I was getting smoked. I had my boys saying, "Don't take it. I'll get you this lawyer," and I was just under duress, man. I wanted an end to it. I wanted closure, and I fought with my own lawyer and fired 3 first, so I could face my fucking accuser, and they wouldn't let me do that.
Which is what you hear is your right.
Right, and when you go up there, everybody says the same shit to you, which doesn't help. You have a right to face your accuser. And I'm like, I heard that. But then when I brought it to 3 lawyers, they said no. But it made me think that there was more than just a face your accuser thing. That accuser may not have even existed. Who the fuck knows? But the bottom line is, I was just like, let's get it over. I'm 27 now. TikTok, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to get it over with, and that's really what it came down to.
So why do you think more guys plead out as opposed to going to trial?
I think most people plead out of fear of going to the rack and getting the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a system designed that way, and your man talked about that. And if you really get these people to pay attention like they are, they're clicking now. They're understanding. These dudes, you look at people and you know where they were. They used to call it the Walpole stare, but it's really just that look of like, listen, I can see through you. I'm not looking at you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking through you. I'm looking at your soul. I'm looking through your eyes. It says everything. So you can't be around people that are really powerful with a powerful message if you really are wolves in sheep's clothing. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. So that's just really the point,
So you had Concord for classification, generally about what? 6 months or so, 6, 7 months?
Roughly 5. It was like 5 and some change.
Okay, and that's your first time upstate. Like, what was that? What was that like? Just going from or did you said you were out on bail? Were you even in county? Were you in county?
I was
before?
in Cambridge for a week.
Okay,
you know what I mean. And I bailed out. I'm like, let me just get out. I got family out there. They're just as bad off as I am right now. I need to be with them. You know what I'm saying? So, and my bail was $10,000. So they put it up. Sold my car that I had at the time and all that stuff, and just lived the best I could, and hung out with all my friends and people that, brought me on trips, brought me places where, kept my mind occupied, but I was also preparing. I trained, and I was training now again, which I should have been doing the whole time, but you lose, muscle has memory, which is a beautiful thing. And I know you know this because I seen you with the hands too. I'm watching your shit and I'm seeing your shit, and I'm like, it's motivating because that's what I was doing when I was about to go in, which I should have been doing the whole time. But it is what it is.
I appreciate you saying that because, I put myself out there, and like, I'm not like an ill boxer or nothing. You could pick apart my form or whatever. That's fine.
That's fine.
But I put myself out there to be vulnerable like that for people to say things like 100%. That. Like, you motivated me.
Well, I trained people for quite a long time, and it started in there. And that's another thing. Is one, you got Concord. I'll go back to Concord real quick because that was really like crazy to think about it now. I drive by there now, and I'm just like, damn, man, that's just a decrepit old building.
They're about to close it.
Right,
just broke that.
Right, and they got the class action suit that's been going on forever, but we were up there, east up. You know what I'm saying? 450 twice, full circle. When I started it, I was in that cell. You know what I'm saying? When I left there and came back on all the other shit, where'd they put me?
Same cell?
Same cell, brother.
Wow.
It was just crazy,
That's got to be a moment where it's like
it's
full
a moment.
Circle,
I was like I talk about goosebumps, chills, whatever you want to call them. I was like, ain't that a bitch? When I walked to the bubble, I say, I hope they don't say on the left. They say, yeah, you're going right there. I'm like, bro, they just knew I was coming back. It was almost like, that's where he's going.
So
and they will,
2 state bids?
No. It wasn't 2 staples.
Oh, it was just the
but what it
same.
was when you catch another case,
Okay.
you know, they know you've already done state time, so they put you back
Oh,
up
52A status,
So
yep.
the first thing they did was put me into Nashua Street, I think it was, you know, and they put me there overnight, and then 52A me once they processed me and seen I was upstate before. It's crazy.
You're
to
at
think of.
Concord. You see the class board. What are they saying to you?
Class board, you know, it was like you already know what it is, right? I have low points. I'm
That's
a
what I'm thinking,
non-violent
yeah, if
offender.
you're not-
So everybody was already telling me. I was there for a few months before I seen the class board. Then it takes 2 months to leave, sometimes longer, and sometimes they modify you. So you don't know what's gonna happen. And it's the same thing with parole. Once they reach a quota, I don't give a fuck what you did. If you got a couple things that they could keep you in if they wanted to, they will. Because it doesn't really matter. But for the most part, you will get it if you do the right thing. But, you know,
So
it
when do you
happens
sit
either
there
way.
and realize, when does it sink in 100% like, man, this is where I'm at? And it's going to be a while, 7-8 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, it was a
When
long
does that
time.
sink? Is that right away in Concord, or is that when you move to the next stop?
Yeah, well, it wasn't for a couple months. You're still, you hear the door
Adapting.
slam though, and that's real. You know, you hear that click, just like, you know, every day, you know, and then all of a sudden you go to the camp that you go to, then you have that aha moment. That's how I feel. It's about 6 months in. You're already adjusted. You're playing cards. You're doing whatever you got to do to you redirect, you know, from the streets, because you don't want to have your ears to the streets. You want to be trying to acclimate, you know. But fortunately, I had some homeboys there from Malden, you know what I mean? A couple people that introduced me to some people, and they knew I was a good dude. So I had soups right away. I had some spoons of coffee, not much, but I started in the J's, J3.
Right.
So
Well, like you said too, it was like a reunion. It's a lot of the same faces in there. And,
it really is. They cycle you through. I feel like you start at the J's. I was there for a week, and they go east up, and I'm like, okay. It's like, is this gonna be like this the whole time? I didn't know.
Right.
But they're like, nah, you'll be over there. So they put me over there, and I ended up having a beautiful tier. East up 450, you know, gym up and down. They yell it, you know, slam the
All
door.
that stuff.
It was a routine, you know. As soon as I got with the routine, it was nice, you know. I'm not saying it was nice to be in prison. It was nice to have a routine.
What do you think you learned the most about yourself through your time in there? I mean, you got obviously 7-8 years older.
Yeah.
That alone, even if you're not in prison, I'm sure you
Yeah.
could learn a lot. What is one of the things that you learned about yourself looking back?
I learned how important it is to be able to sit with yourself, you know, without distraction, because, you know, some people, whatever they have for an outlet, they have, but when you're in there, it's limited.
Yeah.
So I respected the people that were program compliant, you know what I'm saying? I respected that they had a routine in there. When I seen it took me a year to get warmed up to start going, because when I did go, they go by outdates. So me having a 7-8, my earliest release was 2018. I mean 2015. So they're like, you can't go. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. I just came in, I'm doing 8 years. I'm trying to go home too. You're telling me everyone that comes in with a 3-year bid, they're gonna just skip the line? All right, cool, so I guess I'll wait.
When you see this going on, how are you feeling towards like the administration and just the system in general?
Oh man, it was bad. It was, you know, just like almost anyone would feel coming in there, and you can feel it in the environment, because you're all in there. Nobody wants to be in there. We're all in there with the jumpsuits. Before you even get right, you got to have that shit, you know? You see guys in there that have been there for a while, you know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, I can't wait to get my shit. But there's a process to everything, and it's to break you down. That's the very beginning of breaking you down. And I'm just way too much mentally tough to ever be broken by something like that. I've seen too much, I've been around too much to ever be broken by a CO. That balls didn't even drop yet. And he's telling me, yo, inmate, let me see your card, let me pat you down. Whatever that is never gonna get me out of pocket. I didn't crash out on these people. I just wanted to be left the fuck alone. Until they understood that, it was just like me giving cocky remarks back.
Yeah.
Because I can do that passive aggressive shit too.
Right.
You're not gonna break me, but you're not gonna silence me either. You know what I mean? One of those things.
I think
So,
that's important too, to not be silenced.
Oh,
To just
100%.
like, oh, you're not gonna break me, but sit there and be quiet about
no,
it.
100%. It's just, that's just how it is. And it's not me being a tough guy, and it's not me sitting here and trying to put that message, you gotta rage out. No, we have a routine just like they do. And I've heard many people say this expression, get your rate and hit the gate. You know what I'm saying? Don't come here with that shit. Because you're stirring up something that we're trying to get comfortable. You think we wanna be around a bunch of dudes all day long? Cooking fucking rice meals, waiting 20 minutes to get a microwave? There's some guys trying to heat their coffee up, and he's waiting. Because dudes are chefing up. And it's like, that's all we have. And you're gonna come into someone's room while they're doing that, or someone's cell, wherever the fuck they at, and be like, we just took some contraband for you. it's tough because when you have something sentimental to you, of course you're gonna do something like to provoke these cops now because they just provoked you. So it's kind of one of those things that I seen a lot of that in there, and I took mental note because I didn't. You know, I try to just not crash out. You know what I'm saying? And it worked for me. You know, but I had to eat a little bit. You know,
very like observant from what you're telling me. Why do you think that was important to be so observant and take those mental notes, like you're saying?
Well, it's because like my father always told me when I was younger, like talk to everyone like you're being recorded. You know what I'm saying? Talk to, everyone should talk to you and just think about it like, are you being recorded? You know what I'm saying? That's what he used to say. So it was like, every time you're talking to someone, talk to them like there's a record, someone recording you. And you will be so much better off because you're gonna watch what you say. It was crazy. He was telling me that shit at 8 years old, like just like, this is how I was always taught. And it's like, the older you get, you remember what I told you about that? And he knew what I was doing, but he just said, Joe, he knew it was minimal stuff, but it was enough to just be careful. And you know what I mean? He really cared, but he didn't want to try to push me because he knows he probably did the same thing, and I never questioned him about it. You know what I'm saying? But that's just how it goes. That was just one of the relationships, you know?
I mean, that's what being a father is. You know, you drop
It's
these
true.
little
It's
gems
honest.
and these jewels to the kid that you know is not going to be receptive to it now.
Yeah.
He doesn't think on that level.
But he plants
How
the
old
seed.
are you
He
now? And
plants
you
the
still, it
seed.
still sticks with you to this day. So,
Yes.
you know, shout out to all the fathers that are present and that do.
Joey Parker, right here,
Salute,
always.
yeah, drop those gems
Salute.
for the kids and stuff, man. You got into how people have their outlets, man. Talk about what were some of your outlets and why is that so important?
Music.
It seems to be your time maybe right before the MP4s and all that. So
Yes,
we talk about
just missed that.
88.9 at night,
Yeah,
Launchpad type of deal.
94.5, yeah, all that. You know what I mean? Like the prison letter of the week was something that we all look forward to up there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was like, we got a shout out to M. Dot because every time he went on somewhere, he shouted me out. You know what I mean? And he's doing his thing out there musically, and it felt good to be heard in the song. I don't know if anyone heard it, but I did. I was listening, and it kind of anchors you down. And when that was on for that 2 hours, you couldn't hear a pin drop because everyone was not even in there. And that's the part I love. There is some silence in there. And at that time, you can be free. You know what I'm saying? It's all right here. You can imprison me here physically. You will never imprison this, you know? And I learned that by a lot of people along the way. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Someone else has said that too. He said you could be anywhere and be free. You know.
This is all stuff that I've learned from the OGs, the dudes that just said, like, I see something in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't belong here really getting that much time. You could have been good with a 3 to 5, you know? You got an attitude. You got, you know, you were out there flying, but you didn't need no 7 to 8. And I knew that, but it was cool to hear somebody acknowledging that you got a little bit of talent. You know what I mean? It was nice hearing someone sit 30-something years with no TV in their cell. You can't respect a dude like that?
Yeah.
He don't need that distraction. He's reading books and giving you that knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's powerful, you know? And you know, all of them, shout out to everyone in there that's ever affected me. Arnie King, all these people show me how to play handball. You know what I mean? There's more messages to come, but like I said, everything's like a layer of onions. You know what I mean? They keep, you know, it gets deeper.
So it seems like too, like playing sports, exercise, stuff like that. Was that one of the outlets too?
Yes,
playing
handball. I loved handball, but the rotator cuff after a while, you're slamming that kill shot. And it took me a while to get it, but it's not really about how bad you slam it. But you don't know, but you're out there killing it. But you know, guys that play for years, they know how to finesse. They know how to move around the court.
Was that an easy transition? Because boxing is a lot of hand-eye coordination.
Yes. And I always could swing lefty, so I could get this side. You know what I'm saying? Most guys like to play here, serve from here. I can't really return a really strong server from this side because of the way they curve it. But I can get it off the wall again, you know, a little bit to get it back. So I need a guy that's right there strong for a kill. Yeah. You're trying to kill it quick. You ain't trying to volley all day.
Right.
You know, but it was great workout, you know?
Yeah. Freest I ever felt is doing stuff like that is like playing handball, basketball and stuff. Because you're too dialed in with what's going on. Like you said, the ball coming at you at this speed, where to place it. Like you're not thinking like, oh, I'm in jail, F my life. You know what I mean? So
100%.
Those outlets are super important.
100%. So like when you do hear like, yo, a yard's over, you're like, fuck, already?
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
That was a nice part of the bid.
You got to make the best of a bad situation. You really can't, if you're sitting in there with a negative attitude all day, like you're, bro, like I don't see any positive changes ever coming from a negative attitude. So it is like, oh,
it's
people
tough.
want to look at a certain way, like, oh, you're in prison, you shouldn't be laughing and joking. But man, that smiling, that laughing, that could save you from.
I've been told that
going
before.
the other way.
I've been told that. You're too happy if someone's got 8 years.
Everybody,
I'm like,
my name is Seti Zoo. I'm Cambridge born, I was raised in Malden, Mass. I'm a musician, singer, rapper, also artist developer. For the last 12 years almost, I've been running an event called the Freestyle Clinic. I also started an underground music complex, and we ran that 14 years in Everett, Mass, until we got shut down, which you know you're having a good time. That happens to you. So I'm over here with my man for the Hometown Hero series. I just want to shout out everybody that's been with me on this journey, and we're looking forward to the future. We got a lot in store. You can find me as Setitzu, S-E-T-I-T-Z-U. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, those two big ones. I have a Bandcamp page where you can listen to my catalog of music, probably about 30 songs on there. If you dig deep enough, you can find my SoundCloud.
Two different ways I can look at it.
That's like me with the positivity. It's almost, and sometimes people will look at my life and they'll be like, how are you not like a mess right now with certain things going on behind the scenes? I'm like,
it's amazing.
This is like my defense mechanism. This is like my coping mechanism. I have to be
It's your
positive.
therapy. It's your therapy.
And it's a lot more healthier than how I was coping with before.
100%, man.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So at least I can give
100%.
me that. So what's the next stop from Concord?
So Bay State Correctional Center, which is, I don't think no longer there. I heard it was gone.
Yeah.
You know, they knocked that down. So I was there for a couple of years, you know, and that's like it's a low camp, you know, people go there if you got nonviolent offenses, and there's a lot of weirdos in there. And I didn't know that fully. People were telling me, oh man, you're going there, there's some crazy dudes. Really, the stories are real, bro. People used to go to the law library just to get rec all day and just look up people's cases. As soon as they got their tag number, they were down there and they'd come back to the block like, yo, you wouldn't believe, just don't ever talk to that dude. Like, that's all they would say.
So knowing there's like people like that going around the camp, how do you choose to associate yourself with the people you do? Just off of people that you knew beforehand, or just? Yeah,
I spun some laps with some fucking weirdos I didn't know were weirdos, and I'm like, damn. And then people would pull me aside and be like, yo, and you learn that way, like, yo, next time they come near you, like, please, brother, no. You know what I mean? Like, they know better after a while. They know what it is once you start grouping up, and you know what I mean? You first get there, you don't know, people come up to you, but dude, that place was a stay away for some straight weirdos, bro. I mean, it's all documented, you know what I mean, which is crazy. Public knowledge, when they go to trial, it's all out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go ham on it. So it's like, I don't know, that was very interesting, but I wanted to get out of there.
What did you do with your time there at Bay State?
I got on a couple programs. You know, they had the CRA going on. It took me about a year to get into, because like I said, the 7 to 8 took me on the back of the list, kind of. It was like,
now, are you going into the CRA like, I'm gonna get the most out of this, or is it this?
It was
point,
good
I'm
time
like,
at this point. Good time,
yeah.
bro. I needed good time, man. I wanted that 7 to 8 to come down because of the way my sentence was structured. It was a 5-year mandatory minimum, which there's no possible way after getting a 7 to 8 you could ever in 5 years get down under that.
Time, yeah.
So it was just me chasing that number down. So I ended up basically at the end wrapping up a 6 to 7, and that's pretty good. I had almost damn near 10 months good time. So, and I got some more when I went back on the PV and hit him with the CRA again for the 3rd time. I could recite everything from that thing. You know what I mean? But it eventually, some of the shit, I hate to even admit this, started to work, because it was like, you know, they teach you, you know,
like
stuff.
how deep are you in where you look around and now you're like, oh, I'm actually
not in there.
Something.
Not in there. That's the thing. It's
okay.
years later.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's like you look back. Like, I used to hate getting up in the morning and reciting this. It felt like a cult. You know, you're there, but you need the good time. It's maxing you out. So you're like, first, let us know these things, that our lives matter. And you get into this whole shit. It's really positive shit. But in there, you can't even fathom it. You can't break down every one of that, you know, thing and understand what it's saying. They just making you do it.
And that's reprogramming your brain subconsciously. Even if you're, like you said, you're there for the good time. If you say it enough,
it's crazy,
say it enough,
bro. Yeah.
Your brain is gonna start to believe it too. And even if it is years later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what other programs were you able to get into up there at Bay State besides the CRA? And like, how long of a program is that? Because I remember in Concord when they started the CRA, you had to go over to the old, like, New Line. That's where they had it.
Yeah.
And then it was like a thing where people were over there for a few months. They finished and then they came back. It was the same type of deal. Was it like a certain unit?
It was a unit. It was a one structured unit, because in Bay State you have the mods, and then you have the main building where all the creeps were, because that's where they've been in for so long. They got the single cells. They're all set up. So now you know, you're like, oh shit. So we go over there to eat chow in the morning and we come back to the mods. But that's where the program was. They did one over there too, but that's where we were. If you had a lot of time to do, they would put you eventually in the mods, but you really don't want to be around there. And I kept hearing Northfolk roaring every day, because you're right next to Norfolk.
You can hear it.
You can hear it, brother. they're, you know, in the summertime, they're eating ice cream, Ben and Jerry's, all this stuff, you know. They're playing softball, so you can hear the clink, you can hear everything. And you're like, you're sitting there in the yard like, ain't this a bitch, man? You're sitting here like, damn. So people knew the hustle, you know, because we didn't have a hole there. There's no segregation. If you got in trouble, you're out of there. It's a privilege to be here. Oh, is it? Okay, because we get ice cream with lunch? That's nothing to me. Ice cream machines, but these people get comfortable in there and they're running around in flip-flops like they're not in prison. Yeah. So it's like, it's a mentality, it shifts when you get in places like that. Yeah. Same at minimums, you know what I mean? But I had to get out of there. And I didn't do it temporarily, but I got in trouble in there. And I ultimately got lugged to Northfolk.
Now, you say you wanted to get out of there. Did you kind of crash out on purpose, or is this just something? But if your mentality is like, I want to get out of here, you might subconsciously even. That's what it probably was, more subconsciously, because even though I hated it, I liked that it was comfortable time. And I was, you know, already comfortable with the cellmates. I made it to a two-man cell that looked like a dorm room, you know, and the bed was on each side, so there was no bunk. And to us in there, that's like, you got this side, I got this side. If you don't like me, fine. Yeah. You got the side where the door is, I'll fucking wait. We cross this line, but it doesn't really get like that much because you're usually bailed because you're on the mods with these people. Was it like dorm setup over there? It was a dorm. It was like they had one tier here and then one tier here, and there was 3 cells on this side. And they had the C cell and the B bunk bed and then the A. So that we call that the Cadillac, but that's where you had to start your seniority process. So you're in there with 3 people, 3 personalities going on, you know. Then you get to that A bunk and you got your headphones now, you're locked in. You don't even know who those people are if you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? So everyone has a routine. Once you get it, you know you're 2 or 3 months away from the other side and you're still in the CRA. You know what I mean? So you milk it as long as you can. And the short timers did it right till they got out the door. So that's kind of how it went. But when I got lugged, I already made it to the main building, because I was there for damn near 2 years. And they're like, you got to go. I'm like, I'd rather stay here. I'll stay in the program. I'll be the, whatever you want me to be, facilitate, you know what I mean? Because I did a couple things, you know, would do some stuff like that. I wasn't fully active. They're like, nah, you got to go. I'm like, all right. So they kept some people and shipped some. What did they lug you back to go to?
They didn't lug me. They shipped me over to the other side because they're like, we need to make room for the new people in the project. You know, in the
so just
the program.
The other side of still Bay State, that camp though.
Right.
And then what happens when you go to Northfolk?
Well, from there, I was at the main building for about a month, and then a kid came in, he had a little bit of weed, I smoked, and I got caught up in that whole shit. And I ended up in Norfolk in the whole, for like close to a month, right? And they kept saying, Norfolk's getting mad at Bay State, because they're like, either shit or get off the park, get this kid out of here. He's taking up space. The hole was jammed. It was the summertime. It was August. So finally, we copped out to the ticket to stay here, because they didn't want us back there. So we just stayed there, and you know, the bid just got much smoother. You know what I mean?
This is a few years in. I mean, I'm sure you're relatively clean and healthy off the weed. What made you want to it came through, something new to do? Yeah,
it was just like, you know, a lapse in judgment. It was a quick little error in judgment. You know what I mean? Like, we all have them. I was doing good. I already had 2 programs, maybe 3 under my belt, you know, and then complacency kicks in. Unfortunately, especially for me, I'm still just starting the journey. I got 2 years in on a 7 or 8. I'm like, yeah, I fucked up the single cell that I was probably a year away from getting. But then I ended up in the hole and ended up in a better spot and met better people. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I actually formed a lot of relationships at Northfolk.
How did that feel to you when they told you going to Norfolk? You felt like you came up pretty
much?
Bro,
it was the best, because we were praying in that. We were talking to all the dudes from there, like, yo, so what do you guys cook over? And they're telling us everything. My mouth's salivating every night. I can't wait to get it. Yeah, pastelitos, everything. So like, we had, every block had their own setup, and the guys were already getting it in. So I'm like, I need to get to this place. So they finally let me out. It was nice. The next 2 years over there before I went to the minimum, you know?
So what kind of programs were you able to do over there in
Norfolk? I did a lot. I did a lot of programs over there, you know.
You came with your folder, so
growing together, all that shit. I just like to flash through that to remember, because it is a lot of them. It was a nice thick pile. When I went to the parole board, they were extremely happy at, you know, very like, whoa, I can't believe you did all this. It was, you know, I wasn't expecting that. Like,
so what kind of programs did you do over there?
I did Growing Together. I did this program at Base I actually did called Prison Voices, where you speak to the kids. Like, they're not really at risk kids, but they're kids from like those areas out there that come there, and they're all like infatuated by what you're saying. But there were some stories that would hit so hard that you wouldn't even want to go after that guy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, dude, and then they call you up, you tell your story, and you always get nervous, but you get over the nerves quick when it's a message there. And and it's the same thing. They're still looking at you the same way. You're like, oh, wow, I drew that crowd too. Then they ask you questions. It was cool. That was one of the better ones. You know, I got to meet a lot of good dudes, you know. It's
always good when you can get in front of the youth because, you know, even if one of those kids, man, can take something from it, it's totally worth it.
Oh, 100%.
And there's so much value in telling these stories, too.
It
Two
really is.
kids and just coming up here and even speaking to each other in the internet. And CCTV and all that. There's so much value in everybody's story has value, but especially the ones like ours where we, you know, we kind of, a lot of it our own doing, but we had to start a little bit further back than other people. You know what I mean?
Like you say, you don't just start at zero. That's your saying. I like that. You know, we start way back. You know what I'm saying?
It's a spectrum.
We got to get to zero. You know what I'm saying? So that's a really good saying that you have. It was another thing that I really was like, yeah, I like that because it makes you think. Like, don't think you got to compare yourself to every other person out there because most of them are faking it. And if they're not faking it, they earned it. So get in line and just. Slow waiters make, you know, slow tips, but good waiters make good ones. You know what I mean? So it's like slow and steady wins the race. I'm working very hard for the money I'm getting now. And back in the day, you might have been thinking you're getting all that money, but when it's coming in and you're going, I can go spend a G because I got this dude owes me this. I'm going to have 3-4 grand. I'll have enough for re-up and a couple pairs of sneakers. I can look good. It's perception. So you're doing it with this really weird, like you're only thinking about what other people think the whole time you're doing it. And stop me if I'm lying, but that's the reason I did it. So if I can be truthful, it was fueled by women that I wanted to attract to me. How do I do it? Like I seen these players with shit that I could only imagine, and they finally sucked me into my own creation of it. I created my own little version of it where I could get shit. I pulled up in the Acura with the Louis Vuitton interior, but I'm like, bro, like I said, like license plate, drug dealer. I mean, that's all, like, what was I thinking? An old self, if I actually could speak to him, I wouldn't even speak, I would just slap him, bro, and be like, dude, I see so much shit in you. But like, if none of my friends did it, then I wish I could just get in that time travel and shit that they may have and just be like, brother, I need to fight you. You think you're tough. You know, I'm going to show you tough. Right. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to keep getting up. You know, fall down 7, get up 8.
That's it.
That's it, man. You know what I mean?
That's really what it is, for sure. So you get in all those programs at Northfolk. How long is it until you see classification and they're like, okay, we're going to send you to a minimum? Are you still seeing classification every year or two? And they're like, maybe next year, maybe next year. Well, it was like the classification process.
I think it's once a year. It's once a year. And it's like most people don't even want to go. It's so stupid because the situation that they're in, they don't need to go. It's just a kick in the balls to anyone that's doing football numbers to go see classification. For what? To break him down a little more?
Oh, yeah.
You already see him in a cell. You know what I'm saying? That's all he really got right now, but you want to see him at the board. So, Mr. So-and-so. And you know how you feel. Like I came in here, my first interview with you, you feel the same way when you get on a parole board. It's that same type of feeling that flows through you. But when you get through it, you can actually speak. But by that point, it might be over because they're doing abrupt shit. They already made their decision. Your man said it, bro. I'm hip. You know what I mean? And this is what I love to hear because it strikes a chord in me to make me speak my truth for the people that can't. You know what I'm saying? The ones that are dead right now because we have a lot that we can never see again. And these are all the messages that are coming through your shit right now.
Right. And it's all part of that humiliation ritual. Like you said, you know this guy is not going anywhere. Why even bring him in front of classification and all that?
Right.
And it starts from the
100%,
beginning with the stripping naked and the squatting and coughing.
For what?
After a visit? You stand for count.
After I seen my mother and father for 2 hours and got out of here? It's, think about it. You know what I mean? It's, you know, we're just saying what we say, but really sit and think about what we're saying, and you can really probably formulate a different opinion for the people that maybe comment, you should be dead or in jail, you should be, I can't even believe this. It's like, listen, comments like that are only going to motivate people like us for the rest of our lives, so you will be our biggest fans. That's plain and simple.
What kind of things go on in there that contributes to the dehumanizing of us while we're in there?
I think, personally, it has a lot to do with those young kids coming in that are being programmed themselves. It's nothing personal, and you know, it's hard to take that phrase and say, how do I not take it personal? You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
But until you start reading and doing some research and shit, you might have that aha moment that in life, right, there's this thing called, if we take things personal, whether it's negative or positive, we're still inflating or deflating our ego. And either way, it's supposed to be a neutral balance. So when someone starts bigging your head up after you get out of prison, you're big, you're glowing, right? You can either let that feed it positive and start writing notes like, yo, I'm getting attention. And I'm not gonna brag and be cocky, but I wanna make a movement on this. But you don't know how? But if you got 4 people around you, and let me speak to the camera on this one, if you got 4 people in your life that believe in you, do it. Do it slow, do it on your own time, and make sure you do it around people that believe in you and bring joys out. It brings joy out of them to actually see you doing it. And that will be your motivation. And your success could be whatever the hell you cap it out at, because we all set limitations as young kids. And depending on who we're around, we can either go to heights that we see on YouTube right now, or we could stay stagnant with all this talent and not have anyone believe in you. I think that's garbage. And truly, I'm here to speak for everybody, in and out, because the people that are out here doing the right thing need to be acknowledged for those 9-to-5 jobs they're doing every day.
Absolutely.
Blue collar work. I'm around people every day that I have to see more than I see my wife and kids. And I mean kids by my one stepson that is in my life and my 2 puppies that I never see. It's like these are things that grow on you. We had dog programs in there. And it made us go, wow, they're giving some stuff, but then they take some shit away.
Always.
And it's like, everyone should have some sort of pet, some sort of thing that the kids, I don't care. Like, not everyone, you already know. But let me take that back. You already know what I'm talking about, right? Not everybody in prison. You know what I'm saying? Because we know some really, people that can never change. They need to
But
get their
most
own
people
justice.
are just guys like us that made mistakes, poor judgment.
Yes.
Not mistakes, poor judgment, right? Because we knew what we were doing at the time.
100%.
A mistake implies that we didn't know what we were doing.
100%.
We made calls of poor judgment for whatever reason
Yeah.
that may or may not have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For
Yeah,
sure.
100%.
Now you get to the minimum, man. What's that like? You feeling a little bit more free now? You starting to plan for what are you gonna do when you get out? You're getting short. You know? Talk to me about
it was
that.
different. It was different. And excuse me, it was different because it was more like adjusting now to the minimum again. Like I feel like the last time I was at somewhat of a minimum was Bay State, closest you're gonna get besides the barbed wire fence that they have. You know what I'm saying? But you can see cars there. It was close to freedom. So going back behind the wall, adjustment. Coming back to a minimum. That ride there was cool because we had a cool ass fucking guy in the van, and he was listening to all the best music. It was like beautiful, and I was just looking out the thing because that's all you can do, and just wait to get there. And acclimation, like you got to acclimate.
What was the biggest adjustment having to go from Northfolk to the minimum?
Well, probably the people. The people,
Adjusting
they
to the
start to
people?
get very, very comfortable. Even back to like loose lip talk, and because they're all boys, they getting real close. They're talking about all this shit, and that's cool, do you? But just don't involve me in that whole shit.
Okay.
I'll respect you and walk by you and say what's up. You know what I mean? We're still not looking in people's cells because we're in a minimum.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just because we're in a minimum, we're not doing checks. You're not doing counts. So you should never be looking in someone's cell.
There's
They're
nothing in
home.
there for you.
Yeah, there's
There's
nothing in there
nothing-
for you, man. There's nothing in there for you.
So talk
bro.
to me about minimum, man. I never hit the minimum. Are you guys leaving the minimum? Are you going to like jobs? Or you got pick and stick? What kind of things happen? In
Yeah,
the
they're
minimum?
leaving the minimums. They're doing a lot of road crew jobs out there because it's out there and like near, deep out there, kind of like not from.
Did they
you know,
not let you out because the mandatory minimum? Or,
Yeah,
or-
that was the thing. That was the thing. I couldn't get in the crew, but I could get like a $3 a day job. You know what I mean?
What was your job, man? Because while you're in there, man, you got to learn some sort of skill, even if it's time to freaking trash bag around the trash bag.
right.
You may not know that. Like
100%, yeah.
So just talk to me about the whole time, maybe not necessarily the minimum, but what like skills did you learn in there? Even if it's not a physical skill, welding or whatever.
I had to do like a semi type of re-entry type of thing because when that law passed, it changed and adjusted my bid.
So
like I
what year
said,
were you in when you got this letter?
It was like 2012, the end of 2012.
So you were already almost close to the end anyway, too.
Yeah.
How
But
did
I
that
was
feel?
actually, you know what's crazy? I was actually almost still 2 years out from seeing parole. I had to change my whole shit because when that thing came under, they said, you're seeing parole in January, And I'm like, damn, man, like, I don't know how I can, prepare for this
I was
shit.
going to say, did you feel ill-prepared?
I was ill prepared.
Feel like back against
At
the wall,
that
not
moment,
enough
I'm like
time?
ill prepared. I get right on the phone. I'm like, yo, you ain't gonna believe this. I hope you're sitting down. And they're like, I'm trying to talk all quiet. And I'm like, yo, they just changed my sentence. I'm going to see parole in January. I'm not guaranteed to get it, but it's a short list, and you've got to go. There's 17 people seeing him that day. All
what kind of
drug
emotions
charges.
are going? Are you like happy? Are you scared though? Because now it's like, oh, this is getting a lot closer than I
It's
thought.
really
I thought
not.
I had more time to work on myself.
It's more anxious, anxiety, more. It wasn't a scared thing because I did a lot of good stuff. So as long as I can get comfortable enough to speak, you know what I'm saying, I could tell them all the stuff that I did right. Did I, you know, fuck up and smoke weed? Yeah. But let's look past it. But they, you know, obviously brought it up because it was one thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but when they have that one thing and then you come in with this stack of
Oh,
25 things or whatever,
I trumped
it
them.
really
I
makes it
trumped
look
them.
like you shouldn't even bring that up. But they still will. They do.
I definitely trumped them. I hit him with the trump card. I was like, here, this is what I feel like that. Basically, I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was more like when I got comfortable, I was like, I would like to just never be defined. It was like the last things I said. I was like, I would never like to be defined by this experience right here. I want to be defined by 5 years down the line what I'm doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I have a plan that goes deeper than me getting out to this job in the kitchen, working as a pizza maker. I want to ascend. I want to get to the next level so I can speak my story. So they like to hear that at that point. But at first they're like, why would you do that? I mean, your record indicates that you smoke a lot of marijuana.
Right.
You've been in trouble. And I'm like, right. And I'm not minimizing the fact that I smoke marijuana. It's a nonviolent crime. And I feel like I just had a weak moment. And that ultimately led to me going back and having to think about my stuff. And I did for another couple years. And here we are. And it was like I was trying to be more short and concise instead of going like I can ramble. And that's what I try to, I meditated, man. I do the meditation. So I was there, I'm breathing at this point, you know, because I'm sitting there with a bunch of people. The first 3 got gunned. So, and they came out like this. I'm like, I don't even know if they do that for psychological shit, but the first 3 gunned, and they were doing the right thing there. I don't know how their whole bid went, but what they were doing there, I'm like, brother, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was emotional. It was an emotional roller coaster of like, you don't know.
When you get that now, your bid changes now. I mean, obviously closer to your parole date. Is this something where it's like now you can leave the building though, or is it still something you gotta stay on the premises?
No, when I get released.
When you got that paper, because now it's like now you're not doing.
No, I wasn't worried. I wasn't worried about that because
Okay.
at that point I'm like I could get on a work crew, but it's gonna take me too long to get because it was a couple months away from a work crew, and I'm seeing parole. I'm tunnel vision now because I have one opportunity to hit them. So I'm spinning laps with everyone I knew could give me the best stuff. I wasn't even playing cards. I wasn't doing anything because I was doing that for a bit because I'm in the minimum. I earned it, you know. But I started getting, you know, strapping up the boots, going out there, like getting information people that have been seeing this parole board.
Right.
So they know all the questions, and they're not even telling me the questions. They're just saying this is how you have to be when they try to get you out of your character. And that's truly what it comes down to.
Do they tell you right on the spot, or is this something you got to
They
wait
tell
and
you to
hear
step
back?
out. They told me to step out. So you know what I mean?
Okay.
So.
And they told you right there that they're approving you. It's not something you got to wait for the minute.
But I had to ask them because the way they talk in there, I was like, so, and the lady laughed because I so that I. So I am getting it because it was like I heard that part, but like you said, a whole bunch of stuff because they gave me because I was one of the first ones to be released. There was one wave before us, and like like December, whatever. I mean, just January 10th. Okay. We were like the next one. So we got out. I was the 14th that I seen them, and I was released on the 28th, which was the craziest.
So what was like the next step now? You got to figure out.
Plan.
Home situation. What did I have to do?
Well, that was like that was like the planning you do going up there. So everything.
So you already had that planned
everything's
out.
there, and they go, so you're going with your sister. You're going to be living here in Wakefield, and this and that. You know, yes, and you have plans. It says here. They just go over all your stuff. So then they'll ask you a couple questions. You step out, it's real quick, and they tell you. But my stipulations were so crazy. I was just like.
What was some of the stipulations?
It was like I was a mixed bag of shit. I'm like, oh, I got GPS, the whole time. So I could maybe fight that towards the end, but I have to do a long time on it, and that's a good 3-year leash. So I'm like, okay, I got GPS. I got to do NA and AA, which I don't have anything besides marijuana on my record. So it makes me feel weird because I went for a year and a half to NA meetings listening to people that I would leave there depressed.
Right.
I would leave there depressed. Like, I have to come here. And I had to because I had the GPS. They knew where I was. And I'm like, this is depressing. And like, they always tell me to speak. And we have to go around and say what we are. So I would say I'm Joe and I'm an alcoholic, which I know I'm not.
Right.
But I have to say something. And I felt bad about doing it. I'm like disrespecting their shit. Sorry if everyone's seeing this is gonna, but that's just, I was the corner I was in. I was like, I'm an alcoholic, but I know I've drank a lot of head. I'm a weed head. I'm a marijuana addict, what you want to call it, but I'm not an addict no more. I'm like, literally, I can balance myself off with that as a dosage. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone does nowadays.
It's completely legal now. So
and that's the beautiful part about it.
Somebody can have a couple beers after work. Why can I do this?
100%.
So get the parole, you're approved. You already kind of got somewhat of the plan laid out. Did you have work lined up? Anything like that?
Yes.
So
I had work lined up with the place Pocari's, you know, and I started out entry level because I wanted to be a pizza maker because I always loved Pizza Regina. So I'm like, I want to be a pizza maker, but they're like, well, we got to have you doing the dishes. I knew I was going to get on the pizza maker because I knew a couple people that were pulling for me to go because they liked my personality. It was 2 weeks out.
So what would you say to somebody who kind of feels they're above that, especially maybe an ex-con and like, I don't want to wash no dishes?
I say, if you think you're above it, you're above it. But at the time where I was, everyone's at different places. And I felt like it was my entry-level position to say, I just worked for $1 a day for 5 years, pretty much. And that whole thing, I have $480 to my name. So really, if I was thinking about it, like, if I really wanted to go out right now and live on my own and didn't have family, what would I do? And there were people in these situations that it's like you don't really think about until you're in that situation, like, wow, $500, less than that. Because once you put the work in, if you give it more than 3 months, because most people, that's like their cow, fuck this shit, man, I'm going back I'm gonna go call Poppy, get back on, and I can do this because I know it, I'm familiar with it, so they're comfortable. So once they get that there's a way bigger picture, excuse me, because if you can scale up, you can take one company and leverage yourself. If you ace that company, that's my attitude towards it versus, you know, glass half full, half empty, right? I look at it like I'm working and trying to get to the pizza making. So that's 16, 17 an hour, depending on how big you bring it. And then from there, if I take a little bit of that money and start this gym, which I'm gonna start right out of my backyard doing the personal training, and I buy the equipment, and that's what I did. I manifested that little thing and got what I was doing in prison, training people here and there for free, just doing it for fun, getting wrecked. And then bringing it and saying, if I can do it like that, it's just kind of a hustler's mentality. After years of just knowing how to flip stuff and make money, you just think of different ways to do it legitimately. You know what I'm saying? I met a lot of good people, including one of my best friends, Taylor Flaherty, who introduced me to my wife. Shout out, Taylor. And, you know, that was the best thing I ever did because that grounded me. I was still dipping my toes in the water by 2015 because I still caught that new case and stepped back a couple steps. And it took like the momentum away from me. And I was still in good shape and I still wanted to do it. But the fact that I received a lot of attention negatively and on social media platforms, it really, I lost a lot of clientele.
Got you.
And
what advice would you give yourself going back, man, to you, day of release, parole? What advice? Obviously things went awry. So what advice would you give yourself if you could go back to that day you got out on parole?
I'm gonna go back to what my man Brad always says to me, slow down. Because when I'm talking to him about ideas and stuff, shout out Brad Willett, you know, he's doing this thing right now too, real positive messages. He's linked up with
shout out to Brad. I think he had commented, I think, on YouTube on one of the videos I know. So he's big, big dude.
Brad, he's
absolutely.
He's doing this thing right now, and his message was another one that really inspired me too, because where he was, it was a very dark place a couple years ago, and he owns that now, and he's living his best truths right now, and he's working shit out because it's always a process, you know. But what he's doing is motivating a lot of guys that we grew up with to chime in and to motivate him as well.
Amazing.
And everybody has their own way of doing it. He's doing it unique and differently, and he's lining up with people that we've always had in our lives. And it's nice to see he's gaining that acknowledgement because it's a process. It's a marathon, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, slow down definitely.
Yeah.
That's some great advice for sure, because you're not in competition with nobody that been out. Like, they have different starting points, you know what I mean? You're just in competition with yourself from yesterday.
That's what it is, and it's that would be my main message, just to take it slow. You know what I mean?
So what happens where you say, you know, you had a little slip up or whatever? Is this something where you caught a new case?
Oh, it's a slip up. There was
did
two.
you violate the parole?
Well, yeah, there was two different things that went on, and I'm not proud of either one, but one was weed again. It was a parole violation that put me back.
A dirty?
Yeah, dirty, and I had to finish up my sentence from in there.
I mean, how do you feel when you're sitting in there? You're like, I'm in jail for smoking weed. Like,
dude, it was honestly.
How did you feel about yourself when you look in that mirror?
It was honestly, it was like that was worse than the 6 I did, the 5 on paper. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like, you know, I look back at it and I'm like, damn, I had everything. You know what I mean? Back to ground zero. You know, and it happened so quick. You know what I mean?
I would say too, just being someone like, I did just the one statement, but even just being in and out is something to be, when you go back, like the first time it's all new, you're adjusting, it's adapting. It's a new experience
100%
for what it is, but then you go back and it's like you already been through it, and it's just.
It was really, honestly, in so many ways, it was what I needed, because everybody telling you to slow down, that you know that everyone's not wrong. You know what I mean? But sometimes your mind's seeing visions and things that are so, it seems like it's the right time, but it's not. And you got to be able to differentiate which ones are the right thoughts and who's aligning with you while you're making these decisions. And that's what it came down to. And that was my check-in, to see how everyone was doing in there. You know what I'm saying? And it was kind of crazy. It was like, I didn't know I was going to run into you ever again.
Right.
And they were very shocked to see me back, which made me feel like, wow, they really thought I, you know,
I mean, it's a good reality
gonna...
check and reminder that
100%.
Them places ain't going nowhere. I don't care how many places they close down or whatever, there's always a bed waiting for you
100%.
if you mess up bad enough.
100%.
So,
yeah.
do you eventually complete your parole? Is that something you end up completing?
They made
on the
me
inside?
rap. They made me rap it in Shirley, yeah, which was, you know.
Now, do you rap to probation? Shirley, what, medium?
No, I was done. I was done at that point.
And this is Shirley medium?
That was Shirley medium.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long did you have to do at this point? I mean, could
It
it
was
be
about 10
much?
months.
10
it was
months?
10 months, yeah, because I knocked it down. It was a little over a year, I think, and then the CRA maxed me out, you know, and I got out. I think I wrapped up at the end of July, you know what I'm saying? It was like
So
the
what's
end
the
of July.
plan this time now? And I was like, all right, you got another chance. You just did this.
Yeah, it
getting
was
out re-entry thing.
Yep.
What's the difference in your mindset?
It was now I wanted to start the gym and take those small handful of clients that stayed with me, that believed in me, that knew that story wasn't what it was, and it got blown up and stuff like that. It was just something that happened.
This is like a bad review. You don't got to get into
No,
it.
it wasn't.
Like,
Well, it's for a different, probably different
Gotcha.
time, different place, but it was something that truly, it kind of erupted, and it was like, it wasn't supposed to. It was just me kind of standing my ground in a situation that, you know, at the time I thought was another good idea, which wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
Now,
First
do you
and
bring that
foremost.
back to, is that still old habits, prison mentality?
Yes,
kinda
that's
deal?
process of growing and learning.
How hard is it to
you
break
know?
those habits, man?
It's tough, man. It's an everyday battle. We're in 2024 now, and I'm just starting to speak about this now, and with a more level head than I could ever do it.
Yeah.
So I couldn't have made this possible with you if I mentally wasn't there. It wouldn't be fair to you to waste your time and your message is coming in here, and you don't have a message. You just kind of wanted to be in front of the camera.
Yeah.
No, there's a message behind every one of our stories, and we all have a story. So if you get out there with your story, it's like, don't give a shit about the little negative reviews. Those things are just critiques, and real people are gonna see through that and say, hey, listen, those critiques are gonna bring me to another level, because if I listen to them and I don't go at them people back, then I'm like, yo, respect. You know what I'm saying? It's really a learning process.
So you said the word message. What do you think is the biggest message that someone can get from your story?
The biggest message is, listen, when y'all battling adversity, it's never no easy feat, you know, to overcome certain things in your life. But when you find platforms and certain things that give you that peace where you can speak about it and then feel so good like you could float away afterwards, then go and do it. I don't care if it's praying to that wall right there, or, you know, you look in the mirror because you just like the way you look so much that, whatever, don't get too crazy with that. But you know what I mean?
You, though.
My point is, whatever you can pray to a tree. But I'm never going to judge you on that. Whatever gives you that peace and can make you speak, and it just happened to be this podcast, right? And that's where I wanted to come first, introduce myself to you in the pod, you know, and everybody else out there, because we all have a story. Absolutely. And you start here and you see where it goes. This is ground zero. You know, you just got to do what you got to do, you know? And I felt compelled to come here today, so.
And then what happened? So you get out, you wrapped everything, no probation, no nothing.
No nothing.
Do you immediately get back to the fitness thing, the training people and all that?
I did.
Is that what you're doing now?
I did. I got back to the fitness thing, and I just went full force with that.
So are you still doing that?
I'm doing it here and there, but it's only just with a couple friends that, you know,
Okay.
come by and just, you know, we do it backyard stuff. And with the winter, it's tough because my backyard got a little bit of leak in the
Listen,
roof
man,
right now. So,
I think
you know.
I'm always looking for like gentlemen to kind of do some things like that, working out, stuff like that, so we could talk. Are you still
100%.
located? Yeah, about
100%.
Just trying to find men with the similar idea, like let's come work out together instead of just like smoking and drinking or chill. You know what I mean?
I can tell you most people's routine when they're in prison are far more superior than any routine you're gonna get from these guys that are charging you whatever they charge you for a month. So I've always kept it different. When I really see potential in someone that can even move around and do stuff, I will say, hey, listen, let me work with you. And I'm not trying to say you need this and that, but it's always good to tighten up stuff and get a little better with stuff. And when you do, it just creates more like you want to do it for other people.
And the thing about coming from where we come from, because not every like spot has like weight, so you don't always, you got to run to the bench and all that. We're resourceful.
I never ran for the bench once.
Well,
people that know me know I never ran for a bench once.
No, that's when
calisthenics are a real thing.
Oh yeah.
That's what I truly believe in first, to build internal strength first. You can go to weights. I don't knock weights, but weights is like an exterior show
up
muscle.
For 90 days first.
It's like, yeah, so if you're going to internally grow this way, then you're going to be a lot better at that weight in the future. You'll be like, holy shit, I didn't know I could throw around that. You know, it's really true. I used to do 400 burpees in there a day. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Flipping the cots. 396 with the aces at 15. I did do another 4 just to do them. And I'm like, I'd write it down. And I had a little routine. Some people would jump in, some people would jump out. But, you know, people, they like that stuff. It motivates, you know?
And I think we could be like super resourceful. Even if somebody tells, like, what do you got at home? They might have a couple dumbbells, a couple resistance bands and stuff like that. But like coming from places where we were doing a lot of body weight things or doing lateral raises with a laundry bag full of books, water bags.
That's very resourceful individuals, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think people could, you know, they get drawn to that and they like that and it's exciting to them. But is that something you're doing full time? What are you doing for full-time
I'm in
work?
the union right now.
Okay, talk about
construction,
that, man.
labor. Shout out to 175, bro. They've been treating me good for the last 4 years. My buddy Brad, you know, one of my greatest friends, you know, put me in and changed my life. You know what I mean? Because I was stuck in my own head. Like, I didn't want to leave the job I was, even though it was a kitchen. And it was like, you know, working pizzas and stuff. It was comfortable. Then COVID hit. And COVID hit hard. You know what I'm saying? And my hours went way down. And it seemed like a timing thing. I'm always about timing. I'm a creature of, I like this structure now. And I will get in when I can. I got in with the company he was working for at the time, Concrete Cut, and he got me the book like he said he would. And my life has changed since because it got me now doing something every day that I enjoy doing. You know, it's physical labor, and a lot of people, like I said, complain about it. But to me, a laborer is, you know, it's an honorable thing, especially from where you've been and where you're at now, and growing. The pension, the annuity, these things are real. You don't see them. But when you look back, it actually gives you motivation to be like, all right, I got to keep doing this until other things go, and you continue to keep that going because you can make both of them happen at the same time.
Besides, like, slow down, I know that's super big, man. Somebody coming home today, man, just a piece of advice that you would give them.
I would say, you know, the biggest thing for the people coming home right now, or coming home soon, is to have a plan in motion months before or weeks before in my case because it was abrupt, but have a plan in motion, you know, that you know is foolproof, meaning get away from the people that may not steer you in the right direction. You know what's right and wrong. So if you know it's easy to do this, it's probably not going to be the greatest result successfully speaking. It's going to be the thing that takes that, like the path of least resistance never really works. It's easy. God, it's where we went. It's easy. So if you don't take that path, there's no shortcuts. There's bumps and bruises and all kinds of shit. You might lose friends. I'm sure you will. Because they're not sharing the same interests because you sat. They didn't. It just wasn't their time because this could happen. No one's exempt from time. And people don't understand. That's my powerful message. Nobody. The guy driving home right now with 7 beers in him from work is one stupid mistake away from going up there for 10 years for manslaughter. But he doesn't know that law. But he's going to know it because that's the way it works if it's his time. So that would be my message. Just take it easy and trust who you trust and go with here. Trust this.
I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate you coming through, sharing this story. And I like to give people at the end, man, if there was anything that you came here and you wanted to talk about, you wanted to touch on that maybe we didn't get a chance to, or any just last words before we close this thing out,
I always forget some people. I always forget some people. So shout out to the whole Parker family. Everybody, every one of my friends that supported me around the way, everyone I ever spent time with up in any one of the cells, the 43 cellmates I had throughout my time, it was interesting. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't take it back for the world because where I'm at today, I would never have my wife. I would never have what I got. And I wouldn't be going to the different levels that I see in the future because of the path I'm taking now.
And plus, it's just not realistic to go back and change it anyway. So it is what it is. Guys, I'm your host, B. Luke, man. My man Jojo. Thank you for pulling up. This is the bounce back. It is what it is. What's next is what you make it. On that note, we out of here, man. Peace and love.
got 'em all mad when they see you down.